Hi, by the end of this video you will know about adjectives in the Greek New Testament. More specifically, you will know what an adjective is and about first and second declension adjectives. My name is Rob McIver. Let's talk about adjectives. And let's begin with what an adjective is. I thought it might be interesting to look at the four horsemen of Revelation 6. It's not the disasters coming your way as a Greek student, but we have there horses, right? Hippos is a horse. And the first horse is a hippos lukos, a white horse. And if we think of all the horses being that large circle, the white horses are a small set of that circle. It's a limitation on the wider noun. So an adjective limits the noun. In verse 4, we have a hippos puros, a red horse, or a crimson horse, or a brilliantly red horse, however you like to describe it. And so we have a different subset of horses, don't we? We have white horses, and we have red horses, and we have hippos melas in Revelation 6:5, a black horse. Again, a subset of the wider group. And finally, we have this, well, it's a yellow-green horse. It's a hippos chloros. It's not a very nice color, and that's as close as I could get. But I think you get the idea. We have the adjectives white, red, black, and yellow-green. And there is the wider group of horses, and among them, the white horses form a smaller subgroup, as do the black horses, as do the red horses, as do the yellow-green horses. So here's what an adjective does. An adjective is a word that qualifies a noun. Now, what do we mean by that? It means we make a noun more specific. So, using some words that are found frequently in the New Testament, we talk about men, we talk about good men, evil men, dead men, faithful men, and righteous men. Each one of those adjectives, good, evil, dead, faithful, and righteous, limit the noun that they are associated with. So adjectives qualify nouns by making them more specific. Now, you may have already seen my videos that outline a masculine noun like logos, a feminine noun like gay, and a neuter noun like ergon. So we know the endings of a masculine second declension noun, a feminine first declension noun, and a neuter second declension noun. And we can see that these are the endings that are used on the adjectives of the first and second declensions. So that's good news, isn't it? The case endings we already know are the very endings used on the adjective. We have the word ἀγαθός, which just means good. And the masculine goes ἀγαθός, ἀγαθή, ἀγαθών, ἀγαθού, ἀγαθώ. Agathoi, agathoi, agathous, agathon, agathois. Yes. And then it goes agathae, agathae, agathane, agathais, agathae. And in the neuter it goes agathon, 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 agathu, agatho. So as I say, exactly the endings that you are used to seeing. Now, just as there were two kinds of feminine nouns, there were nouns like gay and there were nouns like hemera. The ones that followed iota or a rho were called alpha pure. And we have here an alpha pure first and second declension adjective. So it goes ἁγιός, ἁγιέ, ἁγιών, ἁγιού, ἁγιό in the masculine singular. And in the feminine singular, it goes ἁγιά, ἁγιά, ἁγιάν, ἁγιές, ἁγιά. And when we get to the plural, it goes ἁγιάe, ἁγιάe, ἁγιών, ἁγιais. And the neuter is as you might expect it. Now, here are some examples of some Greek adjectives. Ho agathos anthropos, the good man. Ho agathoi anthropoi, the good men. Ho agathon ergon, the good work. Ho agatha erga, the good works. He ἀγαθοί, he mera, the good day. And he ἀγαθοί, he merai, the good days. And as you can see from those examples, if the noun is masculine singular, so is the adjective. If the noun is masculine plural, so is the adjective. Well, I can go through them all, but I think you've got the idea. The adjective takes the same case, number, and gender as the noun that it qualifies. And here are some of the ways that the words that are in your vocabulary are used in the New Testament. I say that the Greek has at least 3 ways to use adjectives. And the first way is article, adjective, noun. And that's nice and familiar. That's the way I showed you on the previous slide. So we have ho ἀγαθός anthropos, the good man. That's found in Luke 6. Hoi agapetos adelphos, the beloved brother, found in Colossians 4:7 and elsewhere. Ho pistos doulos, the faithful slave, in Matthew 24. Ho kakos doulos, the bad slave, in the same chapter. He aionios zoe, eternal life. Now, so far the news has been good if you're an English speaker learning Greek, because the pattern article, adjective, noun is exactly the same pattern that we use in English. Now let's look at the next set of examples where the Greek starts with a noun and follows it with an adjective. In English, we almost always put the adjective before the noun, so this is a difference, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem as you translate. So, ergon agathon, a work, a good. Well, in English we say a good work, don't we? Ergon agathon, of good works. It's a genitive plural, isn't it? That's found in Acts 9:36 and 1 Timothy. We have teknon agapeton, beloved child, in 1 Corinthians 4:17, and tekna agapeta, beloved children, in Ephesians 5:1. Adelphoi mu agapetoi, my beloved brothers, 1 Corinthians 15:58. Zoein ionion. Well, I've been a little bit naughty because we normally put the English adjective in front of the noun, and so this should be translated eternal life. But we sometimes say life eternal in English. I think that's a hangover from the King James Version, which seems to have followed the Greek word order in translating zoein ionion, which occurs fairly often in the Greek New Testament. Arto mono, bread alone. Anthropon tuflon, a blind man. And then we have a very interesting pattern of the article and the noun, and the article and the adjective. It puts the noun before the adjective. And you'll see in the top set, it's article, adjective, noun, but in the bottom set, we have article, noun, article, adjective. So we have 2 articles. But again, most students don't find this particularly a problem. Eis tein gain, tein agathein, into the good ground, in Luke 8:8. And ho huios mu ho agapetos, my beloved son. That's found in Matthew 3:17 and Mark 1:11. And here is another use of the adjective in Greek, and there is a parallel use in English. You will notice that I've chosen to begin with apotone nekron and ek nekron because the Greek usage exactly parallels the English usage. And in fact, most of the occurrences of the adjective nekros in the New Testament are used like this: from the dead or out of the dead. So, in English, we talk about the dead. Now, we know that the word dead is an adjective, but when we talk about the dead, we use the adjective to stand for the dead people, or the dead humans, or the dead women, or the dead men. Likewise in Greek, from the dead turns an adjective into something that's almost a noun. That's why we call it a substantive. It's not exactly a noun, it's an adjective, isn't it? So we just show that we know the difference and say this is a substantive. Hoi pistoi, the believers. Ta ἀγαθά, goods. This is a fun use of the adjective ἀγαθός, which means good. And if you read Luke 12, the successful farmer says, well, let's put all my good things in the barn. And when you read the translations, it just says goods. Put my goods in the barn. And yes, that's quite a good translation of ἀγαθός being used as a noun. And curiously enough, we have the same idiom in English. We talk about goods as things that we own. Ta ἀγαθόν, of the good, found in 3 John 11. Ta ἀγαθά, the good, Romans 3. Ton dikaion, the righteous one, in Acts 22 and Galatians 3. Tuphloi, there were two tuphloi, two blind men. And hoi tuphloi, the blind men, in Matthew 9:28. So this is where the Greek adjective is used kind of like a noun. For most English speakers, this is familiar territory and does not present a challenge in learning to translate and understand Greek. Now here is a list of adjectives of the first and second declension that are found in the Greek New Testament. And as is my practice, I will read out the word and give you an opportunity to repeat it back. Ἀγαθός, ἀγαθέ, ἀγαθόν. Now, why did I say ἀγαθός, ἀγαθέ, ἀγαθόν? One way to ensure that we remember that this word is an adjective is when we say it, we say ἀγαθός, ἀγαθέ, ἀγαθόν. And we know it's feminine uses an eta, not an alpha. Ἀγαθός, ἀγαθέ, ἀγαθόν. Agapetos, agapete, agapeton. Hagios, hagia, hagion. Ionios, ionion. Well, that's a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because it only has two endings. And the endings which are usually masculine, os, on, etc., are used as feminine adjectives as well. Dikaios, dikaia, dikaion. So that's an adjective that follows alpha in its feminine forms. Dikaiosune is the noun that goes along with the adjective dikaios. And we see that the noun has an eta ending, so we already recognize that it is a first declension feminine noun. Kakos, kake, kakon. Kalos, kale, kalon. Monos, mone, monon. Mu. Nekros, nekra, nekron. Pistos, piste, piston. Paneiros, paneira, paneiron. And tuflos, tufle, tuflon. Did you notice the word mu, which can have the form emu, just means my. It's a genitive case, and it's used often enough that it's worth learning separately. And, in fact, we used it in a couple of the examples that I have already shared. Now, you might ask me, Rob, how do I make adjectives easier? Now, I've already shared with you one of the things that I think will make it easier, as well as my usual advice of please learn the vocabulary thoroughly, including how to spell words in Greek. I would suggest you learn the vocabulary by saying aloud all three forms, the masculine, feminine, and neuter forms. So ἀγαθός, ἀγαθέ, ἀγαθόν. And even with ionios, which only has two forms, I would say ionios, ionios, ionion. So that's the first thing. We need to know our vocabulary very well. And might I also suggest that you look at the examples that I have shown you from the Greek New Testament. By the time you've looked at those, you will be able to recognize the patterns when you see them in the Greek text. And finally, of course, it helps to practice. And might I suggest doing the exercise in chapter 9 of my book, Beginning New Testament Greek made easier. This video is one of a series of videos on various aspects of New Testament Greek. You can most easily find these videos by subscribing to my YouTube channel, NT Greek Made Easier, or by following me on x.com at robmciver2024. And hey, if you found this video helpful, why not let me know by clicking on the like button below or by clicking on the heart icon. Thank you.